After midnight, if you hear wet footsteps stop outside your room, do not open the door, because it is not lost. It is choosing. Atami falls into an unnatural silence after the rain, especially around the old building near the harbor. That 3-story wooden building never truly dries. For decades, the floorboards have absorbed the sea air until the stench of salt and damp wood lingers through the night. Every occupied room keeps salt outside the door, though no one in the building ever speaks of it directly. No one calls it a charm. No one calls it protection. For those who have lived there long enough, it is like a small debt paid to something outside. So it will pass by and not stop at their door. Until a woman moved into the room at the end of the corridor. She was from another town, and she was the only one in the building with no salt outside her door. On the first night of heavy rain, no one on that floor dared to open their door, because shortly after midnight, everyone heard the same sound: slow, heavy, wet, as if someone barefoot was walking room by room along the old wooden corridor. The sound slowly passed the salt outside every room, as if it were searching for something, before it stopped outside her room. Nobody moved, because those who had lived there long enough knew if that sound stopped outside a room for too long, by morning, that room would always smell of the sea. And that morning, the smell of seawater began drifting from her room. It was not the smell of fresh sea air. It was the smell of damp wood, old salt, and something that seemed to have been rotting underwater for a long time. No one saw her leave the room after that. But every night, the footsteps returned. Wet stains began appearing outside other rooms. Some nights, it stopped outside their doors, as if something was standing outside, listening. No one dared open the door, because everyone knew the footsteps they heard every night were not human. Days passed. No one saw the woman leave her room. The light never came on. There was no voice, not even the sound of movement. But every night, the wet footsteps continued along the 3rd floor corridor, and the smell of the sea grew stronger. The landlord began knocking on her door every morning, but no answer ever came. The first time, there was nothing. The second time, the smell of the sea grew stronger behind the door. And the final time, just as he was about to turn away, he heard the wooden floor creak slowly from inside the room. Soon after, on the first morning when the rain finally stopped, the landlord decided to open the room. Inside, the room was completely silent. There were no signs of struggle, no blood, not even a sign that anyone had tried to escape. Only the wooden floor beside the bed was still wet, and beside the bed, wet footprints stretched in circles across the room, as if someone had been walking in the same place for many nights. The landlord slowly backed out of the room. Then he froze, because on the corridor floor outside, new wet footprints were slowly appearing, right outside his own room. Tonight, if you hear wet footsteps stop outside your room, do not